I want to say thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Let's kick it off. Well, we have everyone here.
Yeah, and please, we'd love to know where you're all coming in from today in the chat.
Yeah, I'm out here. I'm in Henderson, so Henderson, Nevada. It's probably going to be 100 something degrees today out here. So,
Yes, and I'm your neighbor over in Las Vegas.
all right. All right. Thanks for joining, everyone. From the invite that we sent over, we talked about things of like maybe how the market's shifting and pretty much how agents who are adapting to this market are winning a lot more listings. And the reality of this, and really the reality is a lot of people have challenges today in this challenging market. So we're going to try to cover as much of this in this session as much as possible. But sellers don't just pick any agents; they pick agents that they recognize and the ones that they trust and the ones who show up consistently in their neighborhood. For those of you guys who don't know me, my name is Chio Saley. I'm a VP of Creative for Corefact. My background's pretty much in branding, design, and also in products. Worked with a lot of Fortune 500 companies, mainly in the mergers and acquisitions department, where I handle their brands, brand transitioning, brand enhancements, and things like that. Also, been part of the company for about 20 years, working with some of the biggest agents across the country, and also working with brokerages at the brokerage level, working on campaigns, building out products, and things like that. I'm joined today by our Director of Marketing, Anna. Anna, you want to say a couple things here?
Yes, thank you, Chio. It's so wonderful to be here. As a marketing expert, I've been in the real estate, print, digital, and tech space for about 18 years now. I was a realtor starting in 2008, so I do understand the current market and the constraints and issues and concerns that we may be going through at the moment. So I'm grateful that I've been able to share that expertise with our clients and helping them through this market shift.
And that was a tough time too in 2008. So,
It was really scary. Yeah.
all right. So a little bit about Corefact. Anna, you want to talk about some of the things here that we've done? I mean, obviously we've been in business for about 20 years now.
I
Mailed
know
over.
we just celebrated our 20th anniversary in June. I'm so excited. Yes, we had a big celebration party, invited everybody into our San Leandro location. And since then, we've actually expanded. So now not only are we in Northern California, we're also in Kentucky with a fulfillment plant. So we're coast to coast. And several people are in Vegas and across the country. So our reach is really here to support all of our clients across the country. And so we understand the different markets that are going in and across the different regions. And we've also been able to support our clients with sending over 500 million postcards. So we do have a little bit of data on those postcards and which ones are working. And so we can really share that expertise now with our clients. And I'm really excited to also that we've been recognized by Inc. 5000, San Francisco Fast 100, but also Forbes has recognized many of our products, including our Just Listed, Just Sold postcards, as some of the best marketing materials for real estate professionals. And that makes my heart happy because our team is busy creating those designs and putting the marketing messages on there so that all of our clients can successfully grow their business. And so, okay, we all know there's a huge elephant in the room. And so I'm really curious, Chio, why are agents struggling right now in the current market?
Well, it's probably struggling for multiple reasons. A lot of times I think a lot of agents that we work with or come to us, whatever the case is, they're just not confident. And the reason why they're not confident is because they don't really have a plan. And a lot of times they're thinking about what they should be sending out every single month. Corefact's done a great job of like building out tools and things like that to really help agents. But in reality, agents are still struggling today. And it's probably even more pressure than what it was before. You have to do all these things where it's fierce competition. Every single day you're working on showings, negotiations, and paperwork daily. The cost of marketing is going up, whether you're doing social, whether you're doing print, whatever the case is, everything seems to be going up a little bit. And so, especially in this market where sometimes a lot of people are depending on referrals are running dry right now. And so if you don't have a system that kind of really builds that top of funnel for you, you're not going to have confidence and say, hey, I have a smooth operating business. So you're going to need automation, and with automation is a way to really to grow your business, right? But there's one group out there that's just absolutely just crushing it out there. It's really the top producing agents. I work with a lot of these agents, and the one thing that I know that they have confidence in is that marketing plan. And that marketing plan really involves a couple key components. It's really brand building. It's building that influence to make sure that every time when that seller, prospective seller, is thinking about selling that house, the first person to come to mind is that particular agent. And they're consistent with it too. And that's the crazy thing about it. They're hardcore consistent. It's like clockwork for these guys. Every single month they have something going out for them, touching those homeowners, letting them know that they're successfully listing homes and selling homes, educating them, providing value right off the top. And they do that through automated communications. They also follow up too, which is something that I think a lot of agents tend to not do. We can all admit that.
Sometimes we get busy.
But they have to follow up. And then if you have a system to do that, then I think you'll be in a better position and get more opportunities as well, right? So let me explain to you kind of like a little bit about this whole thing with like how the agents are different. And this is how we kind of see it. So we'll call it the peaks and valley effect, right? Here's an agent that I have right now showing on screen. And this agent in particular focuses on their marketing. And guess what happens when they focus on their marketing? They're not focusing on their listings. And so once they focus on the marketing and build out a plan, or they send out a postcard and they get a listing, they focus on the listing. And then guess what happens? They market and focus that listing, focus on that listing. And then when they sell the home, they're going back to this, marketing again. And they kind of go through this pattern throughout the year, every single month, sometimes multiple months like this. And guess what happens when you kind of look back and in hindsight, the last 6 to 12 months, you're spending a lot of time thinking about what cards to send out, where the lead's going to come from, the next lead's going to come from. Half your time is spent on figuring that problem out, right? Now here comes the top agent. This is what we do with the agents that we work with. Yes, they're going to focus on the marketing, but their marketing is on autopilot. They have something going out every single month, right? When they do that and they get a listing, they focus on the listing. But now think about that time when they had to focus on marketing, right? What happens now, they free up that time and they basically have more time to focus on their business, which means that they're probably getting more conversations and then building more relationships. And this is what we call the parallel effect. This is basically you having something autopilot going out for you every single month, and then basically you're working more of those relationships. This is what we call parallel effect here. And that's that gap that we're talking about. We're trying to get you from here to there. And we feel the gap agents struggle with. And by doing this, we have this program, which is our elite campaign, okay? It's probably the #1 program out there when it comes to figuring out this gap, getting you across the line from here to there. And we do it with postcards, technology, focus on brand building, and making you consistent. Now, what most agents are missing in this marketing is a marketing system. And it takes the guesswork out and makes consistency automatic. That's exactly what Elite is designed to do. It's branded to you and it's automated, so you don't have to manage it, and it's proven effective in a lot of different markets. And it's also trusted by thousands of real estate professionals across the country. Now, don't think about Elite as just a postcard campaign. It's actually a real system built to make sure you show up every single month, building credibility, growing that brand recognition, and creating a kind of consistency that turns turns opportunities into actual business, into listings. Now, before we jump into this part and take a deeper dive into Elite, so you guys can actually see the strategy and how we kind of implement that into this program, I want you guys to consider 2 things, okay? And I always tell my agents to do this all the time, right? The first thing is be smart about the firm that you choose. Clean up that list, so that way you're making sure that you're stretching your marketing dollars, and those postcards are going only out to relevant contacts only. The second thing I want to explain to you guys is being realistic about understanding what the opportunities and the numbers kind of look like. So like I said, step 1, we're going to go back upstream. We're going to work with title. A lot of you guys are working with title companies. I work with a lot of title companies, and I've seen their program. They have a really amazing farming tool. It has tons of data. Not talking about just removing duplicates or mailing to like absentee owners and owner-occupied owners. Talking about looking at real data, removing people that moved in the past 3 to 6 months, cleaning up that list as much as possible. And that's important.
I agree
right?
to you. Working with my title rep was it was vital, honestly, for my mailing list quality. And I just was so confident knowing I had someone else who had that expertise helping me create that list. So then I was able to then use my content to then communicate with that audience. I've found that being a real estate professional, oftentimes, sometimes I felt I was alone. And so having that title partner support me on that journey was critical.
Yeah, those guys have tons of data and they invested in so much data and the data is getting better too. So, more people are looking at, equity position and things like that, how long they've been in a home. All those things affect, the type of farm you're going to choose, and also just how effective those postcards will probably be for those particular prospects as well. So, but we also have a farming tool. And we could pull data like a radius list for you. We just don't have all the other data that Title has. So make sure you guys are working with those guys, cleaning up that list because it kind of starts from there, right? Now I get this question all the time, Anna. This is a lot of times people are asking me this. They say, "Hey, what's a good size farm to start with?" Right? What do you think about that strategy?
Yes. Well, oftentimes we always think, oh, I'm going to start with my budget first, and that's how I'm going to dictate how many people I can mail to. And whereas often as a business owner and a real estate professional, the right question to ask is how many leads do you want? How many listings are you wanting to have this year? And then that helps us backtrack a little bit to figure out now, okay, this is how big your mailing list needs to be.
Right, right. And really, it's a game of numbers. And I think once you see what I'm talking about here, you guys will kind of see this whole thing. So let's say you pick a farm size of 500, turnover rate is about 5%, right? You guys, you're probably looking at opportunities, about 25 opportunities here. That means that we're competing for 25 opportunities, meaning that in the last 12 to 16 months, a turnover of 5%, there's a good chance that maybe this next time around we'll be looking at the same type of number here. But here's the rule of thumb that we kind of live with when it comes to Corefact, and how we think about these opportunities. Half of those are gone. They go to friends and family. Everyone knows a realtor. It's like a friend's friend who knows someone, right? I mean, how often does that happen? Quite often, right? And so the next thing is this. Half of those leads goes to the most recognized brand, the agents that have been consistently marketing that particular area, which means that there's only half that we're actually competing with. Now think about those numbers. You're basically battling against the whole entire market for 6 listings here, right? What do you think about that, Anna?
Well, I can't even imagine how many would that be if I only mailed to 200 people. I mean, 1 or 2 people that we're all fighting over.
It's probably
So,
half, right?
so numbers really do matter, especially when you're selecting different farm areas.
Yeah, and that's the expectations that I kind of have. I tell people all the time, why don't you be fully transparent with people? When people say, hey, should I mail 200 or whatever cases? Yeah, you can, but you might not get the results that you're expecting. So we just want to be fully transparent here, and understanding the numbers really means a big deal, especially when you're trying to game plan and market to a particular farm area. So now let's talk about this whole elite campaign strategy, because I think a lot of times people go, so what is the strategy? Well, the first thing is we've got to figure out a plan, right? And that plan is going to have 4 things that we can talk about all the time, which really makes this product really interesting. One, we're going to focus on building that brand, right? If you don't have a brand, now's the time to do it, especially this time of year, going into the end of the year, into Q1, into next year. Second thing, you got to automate this whole thing. You got to set it and forget it and just let it run. And you got to let it run every single month. Let the campaign play out. I cannot stress that enough to people a lot of times. We spend so much time with sequencing these cards to build that reputation that a lot of times I say, hey, just let this thing play out for a little bit. And then on top of that is print. A lot of people think print is dead. This is not like old school days, guys. This is not like, hey, I'm sending out a postcard and my call to action is, hey, give me a call for a free market analysis of your property. Give me a call if you know someone's looking to buy or sell. No one's picking up the phone. People have technology these days. They're going to research you up, check out your reviews, check out what people are saying about you and things like that. They'll probably text you first. I mean, usually that's what I do. So it's not often I pick up a phone call and call someone. And then the other thing too is just creating this habit of consistency. It's like you hear this all the time. I just got to be consistent. Just got to be consistent. Well, what does that mean? Well, it means you're showing up every single month. It means that you're building momentum. It means that, hey, no matter what happens this month, I have something going out that touches my particular farm base. Okay. So the system pretty much includes like a semi-custom design and things like that. It's really about building your brand. I'm gonna show you a deep dive about that too, because I love branding. I love helping agents build their brand. I've seen so many people grow their business and so much confidence that go along with building that brand.
Well, and Chio, people who maybe not aren't brand experts or marketing experts, branding sometimes is seen as a logo, right? Or just the business name. And so I'm really curious to see what all is involved with a brand beyond maybe just what we think of when we hear the word brand.
Yeah, and a lot of times I think people associate that. That's what we call kind of visual identity, right? It's literally looking at assets that basically define who you are visually. So those are like brand assets. They're visual identity elements that basically define your brand. But here's a standard card that we kind of look at all the time. It's a very traditional card. It's a market update postcard. And here's the crazy thing, you guys. Think about this. You guys pay for your own marketing. You guys are in real estate, and all we do is dedicate this small area for your brand, right? What do you think
The
about that?
smallest amount of real estate for a real estate agent. Oh, sadness. But I remember sending this in like 2008, 2009. I sent like a postcard like this. That's absolutely insane. Look at all of that data I was giving away and then how tiny my little face was. Oh, like
It
who's
is.
going to recognize me from that?
Yeah, you know what? And the crazy thing is, and as kind of like the environment changes, like, there's more influencers out there. Think of this as like print influencing, right? You really need more space. We need more visibility, pretty much. You're paying for your own postcards, you guys, right? So it's your relationships that you're building, and it's all about building your brand. And here's the thing: what we want to do is we want to emphasize that brand, right? We're going to basically knock out that background and put you onto a postcard and give you a good amount of space to emphasize that brand. Now, here's the thing about this whole thing. This is what we call our postcard shell. This is the first process of building that brand out a little bit. And once you build that brand out, what you want to do is basically associate yourself with the community. So what I mean by this is, let's say, for example, I'm marketing single family homes. Well, I want to show homes that are, that look like the homes I'm marketing to. So I'm going to use maybe a background for that. Think about, like, let's say I'm marketing maybe Big Bear or Tahoe, maybe a little bit rural area. I'm gonna basically change that background. But the minute I change that background, it changes the feel of the whole particular card. It shows that I know I'm familiar, or agents or homeowners think that I'm familiar with that particular community in that particular area. What do you think about that, Anna?
Definitely. I definitely I love this so much because I actually rotated between a downtown urban area and the beach. And so having the different backgrounds for my two different communities really helped them see me as the local expert in those two areas.
Yeah, I love changing these backgrounds. Matter of fact, I'll tell people all the time. Sometimes go out there and take a picture of a landmark that's in your community and put it there. The first thing whenever people do that, the first thing people are going to say is, "Oh, this agent must be from this area." And you know what? A lot of times when agents are picking out their farm, it's pretty much in the community they live in, right? So it's the most place they're going to get the most trusted, brand experience when they market to an area that they're really familiar with. Now, here's the thing. Now, once we build that brand in that the postcard shell, it's really about the content. It's really about the messaging and things like that. And this is where Corefact comes in with the technology. Okay, we print variable data postcards, meaning that we personalize every single one of these postcards. Just earlier, I showed you like this market update. It's a very traditional card, but I get this card quite often from real estate agents that send these market reports. And you know what the crazy thing about it is? Half the comps don't even match my home's characteristics. It's kind of crazy, right? Let's say, for example, I own 4-3. I'm going to receive a comps are like 5-4, 3-2 combinations. Can't really look at those comps. This is the great thing about using variable data. The fact that you could personalize each one of these comps automatically pulled from county records that match your home's characteristics, and we show you the sales price on there. At least that gives an idea of what you can sell your house for and what the trending price is for that particular area. It's all about getting responses, you guys. If you don't have any type of personalization on your cards, if you don't have any type of strong CTA on those cards, you're going to have less, opportunities for those responses.
Exactly, Gio. That's why I love these because you can actually add in the homeowner's name, you can add in the city, you can add in their address. You have visuals that they relate to, and you also have that trackable QR code. Oh, this is my favorite postcard. I love this one because what some people don't understand is that home icon there, that's actually the recipient's home. This is their neighborhood. Those are all the homes for sale or sold around where they live.
Yeah, and you know what? The thing about this card I really like as well, the fact that it's like a bird's eye view of the activity around the neighborhood. Like when I pick up a card and I can see my neighborhood, it creates curiosity. And those sold signs is reflective of real data. So homes that sold on the market. So next month, if they receive a card that has this map on there, it might have different positions for the sold icons because those are actually homes that sold on the market. Now here's a question, and I get this all the time. People go, "Oh yeah, well they could check out their home estimate on Zillow." What do you think
Ugh.
about
Well, it's just the Zillow is a home estimate, but it's also very broad and it's for that area, whereas this is personalized just for them.
Yeah, and here's the thing. I tell people all the time about this, The one thing that resonates with people the most is actually the number one question that people ask all the time. How much can you sell my house for? That's it. If you could address that question, that is the number one curiosity that people are going to basically respond to. How much can you sell my house for? And think about this, you guys. If you're going to sell a house, just like any large ticket item, like me and my wife, whatever the case is, guess what? We're getting a second opinion, right? And this is what this is. It basically gives you that organic lead on your platform and creates value right off the bat. So that's a really great thing to have on here. Now, lastly, what I'll talk about this thing, which is our QR codes, because a lot of people, I think, thinking, hey, this is a static QR code. No, these are actual dynamic QR codes that go on that are different, that go on every single one of these cards, and they're all trackable. And here's what I mean by this, right? So you create this digital experience. That print postcard is now, being scanned. And if you guys take out your phone, you guys can scan that QR code, you're gonna get this experience that I'm gonna show you right now, which is basically an auto-generated home estimate landing page built for you. You don't have to literally lift a finger. We're not like Zillow. We don't tell you that your house is worth, $754,000. We give you an estimated price range, right? The homeowner has these sliders that can move around, so they can say, hey, I did an upgrade to my roof, my kitchen, so I might increase that a little bit more, and it'll adjust the price. It's just something for them to play around with. There's also a slider on there that kind of gives them the opportunity to adjust like what they call like the market value. And what I mean by that is the market conditions. So let's say if they say, hey, this is a bad market, then they might move it down, they might move it up. It's just a way for these guys to kind of look at the comps as well as looking at the estimate. But here's the beauty of this whole thing, and this is the part that I really like. The fact that the minute that someone scans that QR code, you as the agent will receive an email that says, hey, looks like Chio from 123 Main Street responded to your postcard and got a free home valuation, and here's his address for you to follow up with. This is what we call the Corefact moment, okay? It's great when you know that, hey, your marketing is actually working, it's engaging, and you're getting a feedback loop where now you can actually respond. You know how depressing it is when you send out postcards? You send out like, you spend like $500, you send out like 500 postcards, whatever the case is, and your CTA is something like, give me a call, your phone doesn't ring, you're gonna lose confidence in your marketing. That's just the truth. It's kind of like
Yeah. No, that's
discouraging,
true, Tio.
right?
And in fact, I love the Corefact moment because we use the same technology on our own marketing for Corefact and our other brands. And it is so exhilarating and exciting every time I get a lead. And it's like ding, so I get a text, I get an email, and I'm following up. It is. Corefact moment is a happy moment.
It is. It is. And you know what? When you send out regular postcards, like I said earlier, guess what the response rate is, you guys? It's 0.47%. Not 1%, 0.47%. So here's what I mean by this. Every 100 cards you send out, most likely they're not going to give you a call. Your percentage is 0.47%. But with Corefact, with this, it's cumulative because you're basically building your brand. Let's just say over 12 months, you're going to get between 1 to 4%. This is on a very conservative end of this. I've seen a lot of people send out postcards, and I've seen 12%, 16%. Like I said, go back upstream, work on that list. It's really critical to how you get those responses and things like that. So you're going to get better responses and things like that. Now, the QR code is a great feature that we have, obviously, but it's not a one-trick pony. It does more than that, right?
I
And
love everything.
Yeah.
Yes, I love everything. Our QR code now can actually send your recipients to any URL you want. So if you've created an amazing walkthrough of your new recent listing and you have that on YouTube, you can include a URL directly to YouTube so they could see all about it. They can get engaged and excited. If you want to include and invite people to schedule a private tour, you can send them to that RSVP location as well so they can schedule on the spot. This is trackable too. So every time they scan it and they go to any of those destinations, we will immediately let you know. So now you know and you have a little bit more context and can follow up with them like, oh, I'm so excited that you scheduled to have that private tour, or I'm so excited that you checked out my video. Let me share a little bit more information with you. This is just such a powerful tool to have on a printed piece.
It is. It is. And it's strategically, you can use it in so many different ways, right? Think about this, you guys. When you guys get a listing, right? What do? You pay for staging, you pay for professional photography. You have this amazing single property website, really featuring the house and putting it in really good light. And what do? You go back to the seller and you say, hey, we have 400 views. And seller looks at you and goes, great, it's awesome. But there's no
Who are they?
Yeah, who are they? Who are they, right? So let's just say you send out a postcard and you take advantage. You say, hey, I'm going to send out a just list the card this month. Well, I'm going to tie that QR code to the single property website. And then now I get to see who's actually in the neighborhood, who's actually looking at that property. Because, we are all nosy neighbors. I mean, I'll admit it. I'm part of my HOA. I'm curious to see what my neighbors sold their house for and things like that. But now you go back to the seller and you say, hey, we had 400 views, but we also had 8 people in this neighborhood. And here's their address. Do you know who they are? But I'm going to send a follow-up letter to them, inviting them to come to a private showing, and I can show them the kind of upgrades we did to this house to improve their home value. Think about how powerful that is when you can go back to the seller like that. Think about like how they think about your marketing experience, what you bring to the table when it comes to something like that. You can't do that with another system, another postcard, where the CTA is a lot different, right? Think about this, you guys. I want to grow my social media following. Like, I love social. I think if you combine social with print, it completely makes sense. But what if, let's say I did a market report and I put it up on YouTube? Well, why not tie it to the QR code? What if I want to grow my following on Instagram, right? I mail to the whole neighborhood and I say, hey, scan this QR code and follow me on Instagram so you could keep up with the community news on here. You could actually grow your following with using direct mail, right? So there's a lot of key things that you could do with this dynamic QR code. So don't think of it as just, hey, it is just news to this home estimate. It actually goes beyond that, and so many agents take advantage of that today. Now let's talk about this whole thing with farming being consistent. Now I'm going to say this to you guys here. Farming consistency is the process of building your brand and reputation. I have a lot of agents that come to me. The first question I ask them is, hey, when's the last time you sent out a postcard that markets your services? First thing they say to me is a few months ago, right? So
it's hard, Gio. It's just so hard to remain consistent.
It is, and you got to create a habit. That's the thing about this whole thing. The agents that do it well, like I mentioned before, it's like clockwork for them, right? It just goes automatically for them. Think about this. If I mailed last year, let's just say 4 postcards, right? You think they're going to really know my name? They're probably going to think I'm like, I left the business. I'm not a successful agent. I mean, how many times have we heard that from agents where they go, hey, yeah, they actually thought I was out of business or whatever the case was, and 2 years later, they never called me back, or, a year later.
Yes. Well, and my friend, I loved getting her postcards every single month because then I knew what was happening in the area. I knew what was happening with her. And then all of a sudden it just stopped and I didn't get one for a few months. And I actually reached out to her asking if she retired. I wasn't sure if congratulations were in order and she said, oh no, she just wasn't, sure if the farming to that community was worth it anymore or not. And it's like, hello, I thought you retired. So having that automated process to be able to communicate on a consistent basis and off of your plate would have been a huge help for her. So she immediately then reinstated and started farming to us again. And she got 2 more listings. I mean, because we love referring to the people we know and trust, but if we're not sure if they're even in business anymore, that makes it a little hard.
Yeah.
Right?
This is this is when you automate this whole process, it's the compounding effort, and after 12 months, they're going to know your name. They're going to recognize your brand, right? This is basically building that brand influence that we've been talking about, right? So you got to automate that process because guys, you guys are really busy. You guys got to figure out, so much things on a daily basis that the last thing you want to do is say, hey, I don't know what I'm going to send out this month, right? So you got to automate that process.
This is my favorite. I love this. So, as a marketing person, I'm data driven and I love knowing what's happening and I like to follow up. This is our lead dashboard. So, this will literally show you every time you receive a lead from any of your mailings and you can immediately follow up.
Yeah, this is such a big deal, you guys. Like, I was over at Inman, I think last year. One of the key numbers that stood out to me was really the fact that 67% of leads just never get followed up with by agents, which is crazy when you think about that. I mean, we're all here screaming for leads. The minute that we have any type of opportunity, we don't follow up. And again, it goes back to that not having a plan, not having something to send out. A nice note card would be nice. Maybe like someone sends these, you get a lead from one of these postcards and they get this free home valuation. This is something that I tell people all the time about this whole thing is the minute that someone responds, you got to basically escalate and elevate that particular experience. Send them like a nice note card and say something like this. Say, hey, thanks for checking on your home estimate. I know that this is a computer generated estimate and it might not take into account things like upgrades in your home that might affect your home value. But let me show you my marketing plan that's been netting my sellers great results in this challenging market. I love to meet over coffee. Coffee's on me. Let's connect. But you really want to ask for that face-to-face after that, right? Because they've already showed intent by scanning that, and whether they're curious or maybe they're thinking about maybe in the future they're trying to sell their house. You really want to get in right there while the iron's still hot. So make sure you follow up, you guys. This is such a big deal. Okay? With your past clients too. That's another thing. Make sure
True. Sphere of influence. Oh my goodness. Talk about an amazing group of people to stay consistently, involved with. They love you. And so why wouldn't they refer to you? But if they don't know you're in business still, how do they know to refer to you? Oh, okay, Gio. So Elizabeth Avery, I love her. She is a phenomenal agent, definitely a top producer. She's actually been with our Elite campaign since we've started. And I'm just so impressed with her because she started with about 600 or so a month postcards that she was sending out to her farm. And now 8-9 years later, she is, I believe, around 6,000 or 7,000 postcards to multiple farms across her entire region. And it's because everyone loves her. Everyone is confident in her. She shares information they are all really excited about learning. And we loved creating, and her brand has actually evolved over these years too. So it's been really excited to be a part of that. Look at this. Oh, I'll let you share about this too.
Yeah, I mean, she's been with us for a while. Her brand's grown, her farm's growing in parallel with it. And the great thing when you look at the overall campaign, what's the first thing you kind of notice, right? It's like, hey,
Yeah.
it's her.
Mm-hmm.
So if she's constantly sending these postcards out, now she's sending the just listed cards out, things like that, it's just going to be a compounding effort to build that brand and build that trust. So when you sign up for this whole campaign and you're part of the Elite membership, yeah, we're going to focus on that because we know every top producing agent that we work with, it is all about building their brand. And if you don't have a brand that says I sell homes, then you're going to have less success. You're going to have less confidence. So this starts the process of building that confidence. When you see a plan like this, you're going to say, hey, I'm willing to invest into my business because I have an actual plan. This is where I think a lot of just faults right here, right?
Well, and Gio, and then what I love about this and her time investing in herself and her business over the years is she's also creating a succession plan for herself, right? This isn't just something for new agents. It's not just for agents moving to a new area, but it's something to think about. How am I going to retire through this?
Yeah, we work with many agents where their brands, I mean, like I said, I've been working with a lot of agents 20 years now, and some of the agents I work with retired, but they're still in business. They pass it down to maybe like their daughter or whatever the case is, and pass it down to maybe a partner or whatever the case is, and they're still marketing their brand. I have a guy, Dave Clark, Keller Williams, one of the biggest agents out in Sunnyvale. I mean, you kind of think he's all over Sunnyvale. Well, guess what? He's out in Arizona, right? They're marketing his brand, and he's still getting business. But yeah, he's got a great brand, and he's built like really great systems over time. But it all starts with this kind of thing. Right?
Yeah, I love this one too. It's luxury, right? It's really clean.
Yeah, it's really clean. But here's another thing about this. It's about the teams, right? Because sometimes hey, I'm working with my partner, whatever the case is. I mean, we've done things where like we built maybe campaigns where I was like 6 agents that are on there, So big a team, we'll figure it out.
Yes, because we have the backside too, which is really, really a great,
Yeah. And I'm
good
almost
real
stressing,
estate.
yeah, and the backside too. I mean, it's about the branding. It's about being consistent. I like to use the back, maybe areas, and obviously we have the QR code because we're all about getting the responses for you. But really, this area here, you guys, if you guys have experience, you guys are tons of experience in real estate, you need to market that. There should be information on the back of this card that says something like, "Why choose Jessica Seller to be your next realtor?" And here's a list of all these things that you do. You're a strong negotiator. You're whatever the case is. You have to list and identify those. You need to do that and brand that because a lot of agents don't do that. And in this particular market, a lot of prospective sellers and buyers are trying to work with more seasoned agents. So if you don't say that on a card, no one's going to think of you that way. And so the more that you do that on that particular card and you say that, hey, here's how I could separate myself from all the other competition, this is where you want to put that. And you want to do it consistently and brand that out there every single month. So don't kind of look at the back of the postcard. It's just kind of like, dead space. It is a key area to start saying, hey, I could separate myself when it comes to a competitor. I could put it in language, but here's how I'm different, or here's the things that I do that's different. Now think about the content too, because we were talking about the content. Obviously, we have a lot of agents that go, hey, what happens after 12 months, right? And we spent so much time creating some of this content, and it's all about strategic marketing. We have like over 400 of these billboards to choose from because the market's going to change. Sometimes in particular areas, they want particular messaging, things like that. And these cards that we created and the sequencing of these cards is such a big deal. Like I've been working on this thing for a long time where all I want to do is speed up how I could, sequence out the card to quickly build the agent's reputation. And before it was just so random. It was like, hey, we're going to send a recipe card. We're going to send a sports schedule. I like those because it has longer shelf life, right? Because it's maybe a particular sports schedule, whatever the case is. We have to really start positioning the agent, especially in this market. We have to talk about how they're doing things differently and create value right off the bat. So a lot of times, like, if you're sending out the campaign at first, we might send like an introduction card first, a home estimate card next, because now you're providing a platform they could check out their home value, a market report next, because then now you can show that, hey, market knowledge, things like that. Might include things like a local expert series card or like a seller's tip, why curb appeal matters, and here's how you can prep your home to increase the value, things like that. You're basically creating value, and we sequence out these cards and let them play out, guys. I cannot stress that. Stop saying, hey, I'm gonna pick this card and pick this card because I like the way it looks. Look at it for the messaging. Look at it for a complete story, not just one chapter of that story. And here's why I also say, let the campaign play out. Because let's say the market changes and now there's down pressure on interest rates and it goes down. Well, guess what? We're not going to send out the next card that says, hey, here's a FOMO card that says, hey, if you don't sell now, interest is going to go up. Well, guess what? We have content that's going to say, hey, we're noticing this in the market, or we're noticing a card that's trending, that's getting responses. Every single month, you're getting an email and it's going to say, hey, would you like to swap out this card? And it's up to you. You don't have to be stuck with that campaign. You have a dynamic ability and choice to say, hey, I want to swap out that card for this month's card, or this month's card with that card. So you have the ability to swap. So that's a really great thing there. Some really good flexibility.
Mm. But we do recommend that you stay consistent. Once you have your track set out, you allow it to go for several months to get that traction, to gain that interest, and to build your confidence within your recipient base.
Yeah, you want to talk about some of the membership benefits here if you join a league? Because I think this is like, it's crazy because, we generally only do like 5%, maybe 10% on the store, things like that. We
Yes.
really, it's all about, expanding that brand. Once you have that brand, the reason why we give you a big percent, 20, big substantial discount here is because we want to make sure that agents are consistently promoting their brand onto other marketing tools, onto other print applications, right? So let's say, for
That's very
example,
cool.
you build this brand and say, hey, I really want a nice post business card because first impression matters. And you know what? I want that to be 32 point thick. I also want soft touch on the front of the card, and I also want to add foil because I want to create a really great impression. Well, guess what? You get 20% off that product, right? So It's pretty cool.
20% off is crazy. Like we never give that amount off ever, but it's because we believe in our elite members and we want them to be able to expand out that branding, which is all of your photos, your backgrounds, your slogans, right? Everything across all these different marketing materials, because we know that as you're farming, you're going to have listings, you're going to want to promote those listings, you're going to have open houses, you're going to have events. This is your opportunity to expand out all of the marketing materials for your business while saving substantially.
Right. And you know, the campaign, the postcard, that's just the beginning of building a strong brand. Like earlier you mentioned, hey, what is brand? What is a brand? Well, a brand is what someone thinks of what your reputation is. But think about this as a brand experience that I'm going to explain to you right now. Imagine if I get those farming postcards every single month and I recognize that, hey, it looks like this is Jessica Sellers. And I notice your photo, I notice your logo and things like that. That's going to happen over time. But let's say I walk in a community and I notice that, man, you got some really nice signs out there. Your A-frames are out there. Your yard signs out there. It's all well branded. And guess what? Now I go to that open house and I see your property brochures, and that's well branded, right? And let's say I get a chance to talk to the agent, and then now I get their business card, right? And it's really well branded, and it's elegant, it has really good touch to it. And then guess what? I get a follow-up note card, and it's well branded. That is what we call brand influence. That's when your brand is strong enough and it's in your system, where now you have brand impact, and that's what we want to get you to, that point there. Okay. Now, you guys probably be wondering about this whole thing. Well, what does it cost to set up something like this? So that way I have a system that I could depend on. Well, it's $3.99. I would suggest a lot of people getting in a queue, and that's the reason why is because around this time of year, going to Q4, this is when we're usually the busiest. Most agents surprisingly think about their business and investing into their brand and into their business towards the end of the year. So we're going to be pretty busy. We're busy year round, but we get especially a lot more busier towards the end of the year. But basically, we try to launch your campaign within 2 weeks. The goal here is to get you to launch as soon as possible. Now, before, when this program started, it took us probably like 6 weeks, sometimes even longer. We've changed so much internally to just onboard so many agents. That's why we're able to get thousands of agents on this program. But basically, you submit your artwork, you submit your information, photo, things like that. We collect your assets, and then we go through a creative process. You pick out your campaign, and then we kind of launch. And by the way, there's when you first join with the onboard team, they're going to kind of show you, hey, there's these tracks that you could probably jump on. That's kind of like predetermined that we tested out a lot of different markets. One of them is the traditional track, our professional track, and our signature track. I really like our signature track because it has some of our latest messaging on there, but also there's really good, what I call just CTAs on there, just like strong call to actions on there. So if you guys look at that, just pick out one that works. Obviously, all three great choices. I tend to like the signature track. So
Tio, so for $3.99, we get to actually talk to a designer helps us create that shell with our branding on it. Like, get all of those pieces together with us. We actually get to talk to someone about creating that entire strategy and plan for the entire year. We pick out the actual billboards we want, and then it's automated for us. And we don't pay that again each year. We just keep mailing our mailings every month. But that literally helps us set up our entire plan for the year, and it's only $3.99.
yes, it's $3.99, and you get the branding, automation, the consistency, that technology, the trackable QR codes, that free landing page, variable data on the print postcards, the strong CTA, the messaging, the ability to swap content. That's a lot. That's a lot that you're going to get. If you go to another print company, you guys, they're not going to be this immersed into your business. They're not figuring out the messaging. They just say, hey, grab my file and just print it. They're like what we call a traditional regular printer. They just want to get your files in print. And we're not like that. We're a technology company first, marketing company, and also print. We leverage the technology into the print, and that's what makes us really different. So, and we apply that all onto this stuff here. Everything that we've learned as far as like working with top agents and what they do differently, this is just the start of it, you guys. But you guys need to develop that lead funnel so that way you guys can continue building those relationships and that business, but you can't be thinking about it every single month of what to do, what to send out, right? So,
yeah.
But we have this promo code. If you guys are considering joining something like this and getting onto the system, We talked about like just that peaks and valleys and that whole parallel effect, and just automating this whole thing. Well, use this promo code Elite August 0819, which is pretty much today's date. That'll give you $100 off the membership, the setup fee, which is $399, so it'll be $299. So if you guys want to join, please go ahead and do that. Uh, I'll also mention this to you guys. I know that you guys have a lot of choices when it comes to print. I mean, why don't we give them an idea of something like let's say if I want to send out like 500 postcards, what's that kind of cost, Susanna?
So for 500 postcards to print and then also marketing class mail, it's only $435. And so that's less than $1 a card. And that includes the quality printing. That includes the QR code technology on there. That includes all the leads going to your dashboard, us notifying you by text and email, and us helping you. And as an Elite member, your first lead for each of those mailers, we're going to mail them a follow-up postcard. Just be like, thanks for scanning. It's so awesome. So we really try to build out this entire plan and strategy so that you are not alone. You have us. We are your partner. We're helping you every step of the way. And this is crazy to you. So now we're also giving them $100 off. So now it's only $299 to work with our team to build out their branding and to pick out the track for the year. That is awesome. I love it. We actually have some questions over in the question area, and they let me know that for some reason, unfortunately, the chat section has been disabled for right now, but in the questions area, we were able to have some questions, and they were wondering if they are in a non-disclosure state, like Texas or something like that, how are they able to gather the data for those market update postcards?
Well, a couple of things. So one, some non-disclosure states, we kind of limit the data. So let's say some areas might not have sold price, might not have like bedroom, bath, square foot data. We try to get as much data as we can, and we'll put it on there. If we have incomplete data, what will happen too, because you want a good, it's not just on a postcard, but also on the estimate. So when they scan the QR code, you want to be able to capture that information, but give them something of value. If we're missing property information, it'll tell the user and say something like, hey, enter your property information here, and then it'll give you more of a precise estimate. Now for that market update, here's another thing that we could do, and I would suggest too. Sometimes, like we live out in Vegas where there's so many different communities, and literally across the street, there's like a difference in home value and things like that. I know a lot of agents are concerned about things like that. So in a lot of those cases, if you're sending out the market data, what I like to tell people all the time is just, hey, let's just see if we could just be more concise, and we might have to actually come up with the data ourselves for that, right? So we kind of tell the agent to say, hey, in those situations, it's best that you guys provide the data for something like that.
That is awesome. Chia, so I have one more question where they're asking, they do have a primary farm where they really want to get listings, but they also have their own sphere of influence group. Are they able to mail to both, or do they have to pick?
Yeah, no, you can mail to both. I mean, a lot of times, it's about building a relationship as much as possible. Those past clients are like key to referrals. And if you don't send them anything, then, whether if it's educational, whether if it's saying, hey, keep track of your home value, whatever the case is, you basically continue to provide value. You want to let those guys know that you're successfully getting listings and also successfully selling listings, selling homes. So definitely mail to both of those guys. I generally also advise that whenever you're working with your sphere, basically send them like the just sold cards, at least do that. So that way they know that you're actively, successfully selling homes in that particular area. So.
Well, exactly. That's their proof of production, right? It's great to know that they got a listing, but now that they actually sold it as well, especially in this market, that's phenomenal for homeowners in the area. And they're like, that's the agent I want to work with.
Yeah. So, it really depends, and also you guys there's different, everyone's at different levels. Every time in business in particular, when you're kind of like, hey, I sold X amount of homes, you're going to have different pain points than what you did before. Maybe you could focus on, things like a better follow-up program. Maybe like I have a lot of agents right now that's focusing on like their listing presentations, things like that, where hey, the market's a little bit slower. I'm going to focus on getting a better listing presentation, and what are those key elements, right? And so, you have a lot of, different pain points at different levels. It's going to start from here though. It's going to start from really at the beginning. How do I continually build that top of funnel, get more leads into the pipeline so I can stay busy? And if you're one of those agents that don't have that system, then just consider something like this, because that's the last thing you want to keep on thinking about is that marketing. You you got to continue building that brand, you know. So also I want to mention it to you guys that, you know, we have upcoming webinars as well. You know, I'm going to be doing a few of these with Anna. Some of these are going to be a lot more insight and showing you guys actual like strategy and product with, like, let's say for example, I need to, you know, there's more days on the market with my listing. I need help doing maybe pre-marketing that, or hey, what's a good strategy for that? We also have things like, you know, hey, if I have a competitive listing, how do I compete? If there's 10 other homes right around in my area, how do I be a little bit different, and what's my best approach for that? So we're gonna have webinars to kind of talk about that. We also have another upcoming webinar where we're talking about the AI that we're kind of building out, which is super like crazy impressive. So you guys have to check that out as well. So right
This
at the
is, yeah, no, this is great. Thank you so much, Gio, for sharing your advice and your experience within the design and creative space, and also for the real estate marketing. This has been very educational, even for me as a real estate professional in the past. And I'm excited. Really good questions. Thank you so much, everyone, for attending today. And stop by and sign up and join our elite members. The community is a really thriving community space. They share advice with each other. It's a really good group of people, and I'm excited to be able to communicate with them.
Yeah. Also, please reach out if you guys have any questions. I mean, I'd love to answer your questions. Like I said, we have a customer experience team that's really great. They could give you insight as well. But more than happy. I think you guys have my email. It's chio@corefact.com. So if you guys want to email me as well, feel free to do that. Fully transparent here. There's no such thing as a dumb question. So feel free to ask me about anything, because I will give you a lot of insight to a lot of those things that I see work. So please reach out. Okay. All right, you guys. Well, have a great day. Looking forward to the next webinar. Hopefully you guys could join us. All right.
Bye.